Good morning, guys. It's Friday. We're heading on into the weekend. I hope you're looking forward to some fun this weekend. What have you got planned with your families? Let us know on the Facebook group. We all love to know what's going on. So workout has been completed for the day and now we're looking forward into the weekend. And actually, I'm not eating out this weekend, but I did eat out last weekend. And I know we all enjoy a, a meal out from time to time. Some of you may eat out more than others, and I want you to be mindful as we go into the weekend of how often you eat out. Think about breakfast, lunch and dinner and how often you do it, because the more you eat out, then the more you need to be careful and watch the balance of what you're having, because when other people are in control of your food, then you've got to be a little bit more mindful of what you're choosing, how much you're eating, because the chef behind the scenes doesn't know who he's delivering that food out to. There's generally a standard portion that everybody will get. So if you're eating the same as a man, then the likelihood is either the man's not had enough or you've had too much. So just be mindful of all of that. Now, my top tips for when you're eating out, which is what we're going to go through right now, are that you first of all try and make sure that you are eating some form of carbohydrate in the form of bread, rice, pasta, cereal, potato, naan bread, chapatis, noodles, that kind of thing. So when you're out, think about that as part of the selection process first. Then make sure you include some form of fruit or veg in what you're doing. So vegetables, maybe if it's a main meal or a sandwich with salad or whatever. And then if you're going to go for a dessert, you want to opt for a fruit-based dessert. Then limit the amount of fats you have. So think about whether or not there's a creamy sauce involved with what you're having, whether the food might be fried, if it's in a pastry, if there's added sugar in puddings and desserts and things like that, then they're the kind of things you need to be mindful of. Either have less of or not at all, or just limit if you're eating out. Then another brilliant tip, which I've said to lots of clients before, is to check the menu of the restaurant you're going to before you go. So you can go in ahead of time knowing exactly what's there and almost have made your mind up before you get there, and it's going to save a lot of worry and time and thought when you get there. Maybe some panic purchases if you haven't thought it through. And then stop when you're full. It's so tempting. As I say, everybody gets the same portion size, so it's so tempting to go on and eat everything that's on your plate, because most of us have been brought up to clear our plates, not be wasteful, that kind of thing. But you don't need to. You're not a dustbin. Your body isn't a dustbin. So leave some food. And if you don't like leaving food, then make sure you ask the waiter or the waitress to give you a smaller portion when you go ahead and order that meal at the start. Drinks wise, you want to avoid fizzy drinks and milkshakes and that kind of stuff, which might come across the menu if you're eating out with your kids in a burger bar or whatever. So avoid those kind of things. We'll talk about alcohol in a minute for weekend meals out, but otherwise just avoid those fizzy drinks and really stick to water or juices and tea and coffee and that kind of stuff. So if you are eating out with the kids or not at the weekend, let's go through a few of the places that you might end up. So first of all, the burger bar. If you're going to go to a burger bar kind of thing, now I'm not talking McDonald's, Burger King or those kind of things, please try and steer clear of those. They are not on any of my recommendations, but let's say you go to some gourmet burger kitchen or something like that. Your choices when you go in there are, first of all, to perhaps share something with somebody else to cut the portion size down. The second thing you could do is opt for a grilled chicken type meal or more of a salad based meal, that kind of thing. If you go for a salad, ask for the dressing on the side, then you can decide how much of that dressing you put on. Remember, tablespoons of olive oil, albeit good for you, are loaded with calories. So if you let them put it on, you're going to get loads and loads of calories. If you ask for it on the side, put it on yourself, then you cut that portion size down and you've got a bit of control over the balance. Then if dessert is going to come up, again, fruit-based desserts, yogurt-based desserts, that kind of thing. Going into the pizza restaurant. So what do we do when we order a pizza? You can have a pizza. If you can build your own and add loads of veggies, then that's even better. Try to put on things like chicken and fish as opposed to the salamis, pepperonis, sausage, extra cheeses, that kind of thing. If there's a pasta option, go for a tomato-based pasta and try and avoid the creamy sauce-style pastas. And if there is a lighter pizza option, which there are in some places these days, then go for that. The other thing you can do, which a lot of people don't do, but is you can ask your waiter to put less cheese on the pizza, and then that will help cut down some calories a little bit for you. Get loads of salad, get a side salad, share a pizza with somebody, cut it in half salad, you know, those kind of ideas are going to help you out. You're on the high street, you're going for a sandwich, you've got your pret-a-manger's, all those kind of things. You can choose rolls and wraps and sandwiches. Try and go for whole grain stuff. Jacket potatoes are good with good healthy fillings. Again, salads and things. What do you want to avoid? Sausage rolls, pastries, pasties, and fried foods and things like that again. So moving on to perhaps more evening meal stuff, let's think about Chinese food. So when you go to a Chinese, good things to choose are things like a chicken and sweet corn soup. Try and go for things like beef and chicken and prawns, and though you get those dishes where they're served with lots of vegetables or green peppers in a black bean sauce, that kind of thing. Go for a chow mein that has lots of vegetables in, or a vegetable stir fry. Also, when you have your rice and your noodles, go for the boiled rather than the fried. Try and avoid things like prawn crackers, pancake rolls, crispy duck. Although the fat in the duck is a monounsaturated, so it's a bit better for you, the skin on the duck is so high in calories and high in fat. I would recommend at the moment you avoid that kind of thing. What else do you need to be careful of? You also need to be careful of salt when it comes to Chinese food, because the soy sauce is quite high in salt, so be careful of that. Moving on quickly to Indian food. Great way to get through an Indian meal is to share lots of little dishes and try and get lots of different flavours. But the kind of choices to make are things like Rogan Josh, Boona, Saag, which is I think the spinachy one, jalfrezi, a drier tandoori. Avoid the really rich creamy ones like the kormas, the masalas. I think there's one called a pasanda. You want to avoid that because they're very creamy. And try to avoid any deep fried, so like an onion bhaji, stuff like that. Avoid that or keep it to a minimum if you can. Let's say you're going to the cinema at the weekend. Eat before you go is a good idea, because sometimes we just eat as with association when it comes to the cinema, and we get the popcorn just because it's there. But you can still do that, but maybe share a portion. They give you massive portions in the cinemas these days. You could always take your own nuts and some dried fruit. You could always pop your own popcorn and take your own popcorn, and therefore portion it out accordingly with you and your children. Try to avoid the fizzy pops and stuff there as well, and get yourself lots of water instead. Some of you may have canteens at work. Again, that's eating out. So remember, when you're choosing at a canteen, if there's not many healthy choices, maybe somebody at work can go and see the person in charge of catering and try and get them and give them some ideas. Otherwise, do the plate guide. So you want a third of your plate coming from bread, rice, pasta, cereals and potatoes, that kind of thing, and then third of your plate filled up with vegetables or salad, and then the last third will be lean meats or a protein of some sort, a cheese or something like that. Just make sure you don't have too much and avoid the fattier meats like we said earlier on the pizzas, salamis, pepperonis and all of those kinds of stuff. Last couple of things that you need to remember when you're eating out is that the salt content of a lot of foods when you eat out is a lot higher. It's a lot higher in snack foods that you buy, and it's a lot higher in takeaway foods. So try, first of all, avoiding adding any of your own salt to those kind of things, but just be mindful and take care, drink lots of water, and try not to be eating those kind of meals out too often. And then lastly, we'll talk about alcohol because it's the weekend. We've talked about it before. Choose wisely, and remember that regular drinking is, even in small amounts, is going to lead to weight gain over time. So avoid any excess, avoid binge drinking, and just remember that female guidelines are that we have 2 to 3 units a day with 2 to 3 days off a week, and the men it's 3 to 4 units a day with 2 to 3 days off a week. I think they've actually changed that now and made men and women similar, but anyway, it's around about that kind of guideline. What's a unit? It's changed, and it's only the units stay the same, but it's just the fact that in the pubs and restaurants we get dished out much bigger portions these days. We tend to get given, if you ask for a small glass of wine, it's more like a medium, and it's 175 ml. Wine used to be about 9% volume alcohol. Now you'll look on a label, it's about 11 to 13, so that ups the units. So 1 unit would actually, if I tell you that 175 ml glass of wine of about 11 to 12% is 2 units. So just be very careful. That half a bottle of lager would be a unit, a 25 ml spirit would be a unit, If you want to work out how many units you're having, because either you've got the bottle and you're out at a restaurant table or you've got it at home, then you need to multiply the percentage volume of alcohol, so the 9, 11, 13, whatever it is percent, multiply that by the volume you're drinking, so the millilitres, and then divide the whole lot by 1,000, okay? And I'll put that in the notes so you can remember that and have a look. And always, the other thing to always remember, there's a big thing about sugar at the moment, but remember that alcohol is different. But weight for weight, alcohol has more energy, so therefore more calories than exactly the same amount of sugar. So as much as it's enjoyable, and I'm not saying don't have any, but I'm saying be very mindful, because if you do all of this hard work working out all week and you're really careful with all the food you have, and then at weekends it's a blowout and you drink loads of wine and you eat way more than you need, then you're going to undo all the good work you've done in 1 day or 2 days than you've done over the last 5 days. So let's balance it out. Let's be educated, have an understanding of the whole thing, so that we can really balance everything that we do and stay on track, because you don't want to not eat out. It's going to come up many times in the future, as is alcohol, unless you decide to become a teetotal. So just understand it, balance it out, and that way you can always have it, you can always enjoy it for the rest of your life without having to go on these ups and downs and feel like on a Monday morning that you've got to go out and run miles to try and get all that off that you've overindulged, because A, it doesn't work that way, and B, that's not what exercise is about. Exercise is about enjoyment, getting strong and flexible, and feeling fit and well. It's not there to undo bad stuff that you feel like you've done. None of it's bad. Just balance it out and try not to overindulge too much when it comes to the weekend stuff. Relax, enjoy it. It doesn't need to be in immense volumes when you go out. You can still enjoy it and have fun. Another long video, I'm afraid. Really sorry, but a lot of information there that I wanted you to have and keep, and you can re-watch over and again so you can get used to going out and enjoying yourselves and still maintaining your weight or losing weight and staying on the programme. Any questions, give me a shout, and I will see you again tomorrow.